The rain streamed down the glass walls of the opulent hotel lobby, turning the city into a watercolor of blurred lights and deep loneliness. I stood there, drenched and shivering in my simple dress, my hands clutching the worn strap of my purse. My heart hammered against my ribs, so loud it almost drowned out the sound of his laughter. Just a few steps away was Daniel, the man who once promised me the world, now standing with his arm around his new fiancée, a woman draped in designer silk and smugness. They looked perfect, expensive, and completely out of my reach. I swallowed the lump in my throat. 3 years ago he'd left me, claiming he needed someone who could match his ambitions. Now, he was a rising star in the corporate world, and I was barely keeping my head above water, juggling 2 jobs and night classes just to pay rent. Tonight, I was here only because my best friend got me a waitressing shift at this charity gala. But fate, in its cruel sense of humor, had placed Daniel here too. Claire. His voice, smooth and sharp, cut through the room. That familiar, polished smirk spread across his face. Didn't expect to see you serving drinks here. The words were like a slap. Guests turned to stare, and I wished the floor would swallow me whole. But then, as if the universe finally took pity on me, a deep voice spoke from behind. "Claire," the man said smoothly. "There you are. I was wondering where my date went." Everyone's head turned. It was Ethan Blackwell. The Ethan Blackwell. It's the billionaire CEO whose company practically owned half the city. He was tall, confident, with eyes that could see right through you. And he was looking directly at me. I froze, my mind short-circuiting. I'd only met him once, 2 weeks ago, when I accidentally spilled coffee all over his expensive suit at a cafe. I had babbled apologies, frantically dabbing at the stain with a napkin, but he just smiled and said, "Don't worry." I needed a reason to stop checking my emails anyway. That was it. Shouldn't even remember my name. Yet here he was, striding toward me with an aura of quiet power, his hand gently wrapping around mine, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "You," I stammered, but he just winked, a silent message flashing between us. Asterisk, play along asterisk. He turned to Daniel and his fiancée. "I'm Ethan Blackwell," he announced, extending his hand. Claire's boyfriend. The entire room went dead silent. Daniel's smirk vanished. His fiancée blinked, her jaw slack with disbelief. My heart was a hummingbird trapped in my chest. "Boyfriend?" Daniel repeated, his voice cracking. Ethan chuckled, pulling me closer to his side. "Is that so hard to believe?" he teased. "She's incredible, smart, kind, and far too humble for her own good." Tears pricked my eyes. No one had spoken about me like that in years. Not since Daniel had systematically dismantled my self-worth. Ethan leaned down, his whisper a warm breath against my ear. "Go with it. Whoever he is, he doesn't deserve to humiliate you." I found a sliver of courage and nodded, forcing a shy smile as I looked up at him. "I told you I'd surprise you tonight," I said softly. For the rest of the evening, Ethan stayed by my side. He listened to me, laughed at my nervous jokes, and held my hand like he meant it. Daniel watched us, his confidence crumbling like old plaster. When the gala ended, Ethan walked me outside. The rain had stopped, leaving the city shimmering under the streetlights. "You didn't have to do that," I said, my voice trembling. "You probably just made headlines pretending to be with a nobody." He looked at me, his expression serious. "You're not a nobody," I laughed, a bitter sound. "I can't even pay next month's rent." He tilted his head. "That doesn't define you." He then asked gently, who was he? "My ex," I admitted, looking away. "Used to tell me I wasn't enough. That love wasn't enough without money." Ethan was quiet for a moment, and he said, "Then let's prove him wrong. Come work for me. You studied marketing, right? I remember seeing your textbook at the coffee shop. You were highlighting every line." He noticed that. "I notice people who fight for something," he replied. "And you're clearly fighting hard." 2 months later, I walked into Blackwell Enterprises as a junior marketing associate. I poured my heart into the work. One evening, Ethan found me on the rooftop. "Thinking about him again?" he asked. I nodded. "I saw Daniel today. He said I was only here because you pitied me." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Do you believe that?" He stepped closer. "And believe this," he whispered. "I never pitied you. I admired you. The moment I saw you, soaked in rain but standing tall, I knew you were stronger than anyone in that room. I may have been acting that night, But somewhere along the way, I stopped pretending. He smiled faintly. So tell me to stop loving you, and I will. I couldn't. A year later, we were back at the same hotel for the same gala. This time, I wore an elegant gown, the company's marketing director. Daniel was there too, his own venture having failed. He turned pale, seeing me beside Ethan, our hands intertwined. Ethan whispered, ready to face the past. I nodded and walked toward him. "Hello, Daniel," I said, my voice calm. "Remember when you said love wasn't enough without money? Turns out, real love doesn't need to be bought. This time I wasn't begging for someone to act like they loved me. I had found someone who truly did. Remember, never beg to be loved. Real love will find you and remind you of the worth you forgot you had." Thanks for watching, and don't forget to follow for more stories like this.